Hey Tony, it's Tuesday, and first off, to answer your question of the week, I would probably go with the Maldalorians. I think they seem like really fun to play, or just like general scoundrels because I think I'd have a good time playing as Din Djarin and other Mandos as well. But we'll see. I mean, it looks like it'd be. I'm sure I'd have a lot of fun playing whatever army because I just enjoy miniature games. But we'll see. So what I want to talk about this week is actually kind of a little discussion on what we did last night with the Cyberpunk Red game, and I had a blast. I could go fall. Thought about going full in on Cyberpunk in you and what the lessons of the Artelsaurian Cyberpunk games have to modern day life, but I feel like the one who'd be interested in that is me. So we're just gonna talk about how much fun I had last night. So obviously last night we did a little, session 0.5 of Cyberpunk Red. And I had a blast. It was so much fun. I really like our dynamic with our characters and Theo's as well. I think that was really fun. Where it's, like your us being twins, I think is gonna be fun to play with. But also like the setting is great. Like I certainly prefer the 2020 and 2077 parts of Cyberpunk in that setting there. But I still really like the Cyberpunk Red setting because I think the time of the Red is just really neat and kind of, could be an interesting discussion on what a post-apocalypse could look like and what happens after that apocalypse. Because obviously within the Cyberpunk lore, the Fourth Corporate War takes place and, Johnny Silverhand, Morgan Blackhand, and a group of mercs from Militech ended up dropping a nuke, basically carrying a nuke to Arasaka Tower, and started what's called the Night City Holocaust, where everyone's getting sick, there's nuclear radiation all around, and Cyberpunk Red, because it takes place in 2045, is kind of like really interesting in kind of seeing how that is built up. Because then you can compare it, because obviously Cyberpunk Red came out about the same time as 2077 did. They were pretty much working in tandem when they were releasing both games, Red the tabletop obviously, and 2077 the video game. And Artelsaurian, specifically Maximum Mike Pondsmith himself, who's the lead of Artelsaurian, worked very closely with CD Projekt Red on all of the lore and all of Cyberpunk 2077. He was incredibly involved and actually voices an NPC in the game. He voices one of the DJs, which is just cool. And his station is one of the more fun ones. And he always kind of goes with like fun little conspiracy theories that you can tell that Mike Pondsmith himself has really thought of throughout the game and throughout his Cyberpunk 2020, I guess, his Cyberpunk lore. But it's really fun. I think his role is awesome in the game, and I'm super glad that he was heavily involved with CD Projekt Red in making the game to make it so it really screams Cyberpunk. And I think it does. I mean, granted, I love the game. I have a blast with it, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, again, is like specifically with Red and how it worked out. Like, I thought we actually got the system down pretty quickly because it's very similar to Witcher, which I like because I also know Witcher really well. Me and Theo both really know Witcher well. And I also really like Theo and I's idea to kind of co-DM it where we're each going to like take a scene. I think that's going to be really fun. So I'm already like formulating ideas for what our next session is going to be. And I have a couple ideas, but I'll do a little bit more research, a little bit more brainstorming before we get to that point. But I just think I love the story we're telling. And I think it's going to be really fun. Like, I love our twins. I think that's going to be one of the most fun dynamics you and I have ever played in a game before. Granted, you and I have usually not been players in a game because, usually one of us is DMing, generally me or you. Well, obviously generally me or you, but generally me or, you a couple of times. But I think having us kind of, with me and Theo doing a co-DM situation, having you and I kind of play off our characters a lot, I think we're going to tell some really fun stories until, one of us inevitably dies and then we have even more stories to tell. Because there's no happy endings in Night City. But I really think I'm starting to grow on Red as a setting. So I'm definitely more partial to 2077 and 2020 because it's like, that to me screams more cyberpunk than what Red does. Red is almost like, in a way, it's kind of like Fallout adjacent, I guess, in a way, because it is like, post an apocalyptic event, the Great War in Fallout or the Fourth Corporate War in the Cyberpunk world. But I think the system's growing. I mean, I think this Night City is a very different character than Night City is in 2020 and 2077. I played a little bit of 2020 with Theo. Him and I did a little one shot where we kind of played a little around with it. And obviously, I've been a fan of the Cyberpunk lore for probably since 2019, probably since 2018 when 2077 was announced. I always loved CD Projekt and I always loved Cyberpunk itself. So, combining two things I really enjoy has been great. But I'm kind of excited to see where our story goes. And I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So Tony, my question for you is, what did you think of the session, and what are some ideas that you have for different storylines for Theo and I to kind of go over? Maybe not storylines per se, but like different session ideas. So Tony, I'll see you on Friday. Later, bro.